Hello. Hi there. Welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series, The Guiding Voice for a Better Future. This podcast is to help professional students, IT employees, and entrepreneurs to shape their careers. Dear listeners, in every episode, we interact with industry experts, our leaders, our coaches, our academicians across the globe to drive some insightful conversations that will help our audience learn great things. Also, we share an interesting trivia or a fun fact about the IT world or technology towards the end. Thank you for tuning in. This is Naveen and I will be the solo host for today as we'll be missing Sudhakar. So today we are going to discuss a very important topic from a military leader, and it's about how military life shapes professional careers. And we are pleased to welcome Dimple to our show. So Dimple Rawat is a retired squadron leader turned HR leader with over 21 years of rich experience in developing, managing and coaching people in contributing to productivity, culture and cost savings initiatives. With a strong focus on overall organizational development, her initiatives in change management, business excellence and transformation made her a true business partner and a well-appreciated employee champion. In the lockdown, Dimple explored herself and found her real passions and dreams. She always strives to do anything that benefits the women community at large. Dimple's life is a living example of having experience in crisis management under extreme pressure situations and adverse climatic conditions and terrain. She participated in 2 wars, Kargil War and the Operation Parakram, and glad to know that Dimple has won many accolades. She's a gold medalist in Air Force Technical College, Bangalore, exceptional award by DASI, which stands for Directorate of Air Staff Inspection, award winner of HR Excellence and Women Excellence, and HR Vama Award, a woman of substance. So likewise, she holds a lot of accolades and appreciation throughout the industry. She's seen as a thought leader in the HR fraternity as well as in the overall industry. So we are really pleased to have you on the show, Dimple. Welcome again.
So first of all, thank you so much, Naveen, for inviting me on your esteemed platform. I'm extremely humbled and happy to be here, delighted to be here. So looking forward for this discussion
Wonderful.
Today.
Thank you for the kind words and let's get started, Dimple. Dimple, to begin with, can we talk briefly about your life in military? How did you get into military?
Okay, great. I remember, after 12th, when I went for my engineering, I was in 3rd year of my engineering. I encountered first time the newspaper advertisement, which was there in our community room. So we had a room, we used to go for prayer, after the hostel gates used to be locked. So 6 o'clock was the time we were supposed to come back and we used to have a prayer. There I found this newspaper and then I started reading it. I saw one photograph of a woman officer in uniform and it was very fascinating. There was nobody in my family from defense forces, and those days girls were very very few in defense forces. I think 20 to 25 were there already, and this was something new. It was a challenging, adventurous, and I was looking for something which challenges the status quo. And moreover, Naveen, I will just tell you one thing, that we are 3 sisters and I thought that if I join this, it will bring a lot of pride for my parents. So these were a few reasons, and then I read the QR. The QRs were that you need to have 60% aggregate for all the 4 years of your engineering, and I really worked hard because you can imagine these days it is so easy to get the marks. Those days we used to struggle, and then somehow I got 71% marks in the final year, and then I filled the form that was cleared, and I went for Air Force Combined Aptitude Test. After that, there is a SSB, a Service Selection Board test, and after that cleared the medical, and finally on 6 July 1998 I was commissioned with Indian Air Force. So this is how I landed up in military, so-called military. Wonderful experience, exposure and great foundation with defense.
Wonderful. That's so inspiring actually, because in those days it was not easy for a girl to think about military and all, wherein it is specially treated, it's for boys kind of thing, and you were able to successfully get into that and now standing as an inspiration. So really proud of you, Dimple. So Dimple, slightly talking again about your military transition to corporate. Now you are a HR leader. Like, how did the transition happen?
I would say transition wasn't very difficult. It wasn't because we very, very sure, that I was very sure that after 11 years, I have to join corporate world, because I first signed a bond of 6 years, then I took an extension of 5 years, and defense foundation, defense teaching, the kind of comprehensive training they give to us, I was very confident that, outside also I will do well. And I enrolled myself for MBA into HR. Before leaving Air Force, I started doing a course with IIM Calcutta. I reached there. It was a 6 months course. And also one interesting thing I would like to tell you, Naveen, that HR, being an engineer, why did I select HR? It was because HR, first time it was by chance. I tell everyone this, because when I reached my unit and the commanding officer told me that you will be HR head also. So those days HR I had not heard only. So 99 only I became the HR head or HR flight commander for my unit. Then journey went on, and you won't believe I started enjoying it more. When you are impacting more people, when I am as an engineer, I was working on my missiles and my team maximum was of 80 people. But when you are a HR person, you are influencing and impacting and helping 300 people, 400 people. So I started enjoying that role, and I realized that I am good at power of human connections. So I was very sure, and I still remember, I'll just tell you one incident. I asked one of the Professor Praful Agnihotri at IIM Calcutta that, sir, what should I change to become a good HR professional? He said, nothing. You don't have to change anything. Only the weapons will be changed. No more Stain MC or your missiles, or revolver. Now it is all you have to change or use is your power of human connections, empathetic leadership, or what we call today is the listening, the good listener. So it wasn't I think, difficult journey. As soon as I came out, and then my husband, that time he was posted in Pune, I joined him, and then I joined a Dutch company as HR head, Wendel Linde Industries, and then the journey from there, I think I have covered now 10 years. Beautiful journey, learning, full of learning, and I'm enjoying this journey.
Like the way you are speaking, your passion is coming out actually. And one thing what I observed is you are a continuous learner, and you have that flair in terms of, okay, what next for me, and you upgraded yourself and talking to IIM professors and also, which is really great. Coming to the next question, Dimple, what are some of the learning aspects from the military that help you become a strong HR professional?
I think whatever I'm today is because of the kind of training Indian Air Force has given to me or my course mates. I would say most of us are, outside now, and we all are working and using those strategies or what we learned from there. So, talking about the first learning, I would say today we talk about servant leadership. But do you know the servant leadership we talk today in the context of agile mindset? We say that, we need to have flat hierarchy. It's all team, which is together. But these have all come from defense. It was all there so many years back. So, because you have rank on your shoulder, you don't become an officer, right? So to become an officer, to become their leader, if I talk about myself, my team, I had 60 people. They had all different age groups. Some starting with 20 years, because we have soldiers who are 12th pass. So 20 to 55 years. So then their average experience was 35 years, and I had only experience of 2 years or 1 year. So then you can imagine how much I learned as a leader. And also I think the thing is that you need to lead with example. When the Kargil war was there, or when the Operation Parakram was there, when Kargil was there, I was just a trainee. I just finished my training and I joined, and then I had OJT. OJT is on-job training. And I think, Naveen, I had the best OJT because I learn a lot. You learn a lot in real war situation. Then when I was in the Operation Parakram, when I was leading my team, there, the kind of experience I had, it was very clear to me that position leadership doesn't work. It is all your people leadership which will work. So this I picked up from there. And I think the empathetic leadership we all have been talking about in this last 1 year, we have heard it so much during the Corona time. So I think this is one thing which I picked up from there. Second is importance of continuous feedback, communication, right? So if I give you the example, the war is declared, you go and your commanding officer gives you war order. So if you misinterpret that order, it can create a havoc, right? It can be a disaster if you don't prepare the missile as per the requirement of war, and you are firing against the aircraft of the enemy aircraft. It misfires. It is a disaster. There is no place for failure, because if you don't hit that target, it will hit and it will definitely can bomb your own runways. So it is very important to have that kind of communication between the teams. And when we are preparing missile, there are 5 to 6 teams which work there, and I think it is equally important in corporate and in our personal life also, Naveen. If we are talking to our family members, our friend, then relation goes for a toss. So it is very important to have that continuous communication, which is very important. And third thing, I think, which I would say is, I have learned to work every day. You just mentioned, and that's my favorite statement, that continuous development, 1% every day. This I picked up from my defense life, because there we believe more you sweat in peace, less you bleed in war. So we are always, on the readiness platform. If error is there, we don't take much time, because we are preparing every day for that. And do the same thing. I believe in learning, unlearning, and those are the important things. Positive mindset is very important, which again I picked up from there. Sky's the limit. You can do everything. Everything has a solution. You have to understand the problem and just work for that. So I think this has really helped me. These are few learnings which I'm telling you, but they have been with me, and they have really helped me to actually shape me as a good HR professional.
3 key takeaways, like servant leadership, which we are talking in today's agile world, has been there in the existence, and empathetic leadership, open communication, and continuous learning. I think these are all wonderful thoughts actually. So talking a little bit about comparing military versus corporate, like how military life is different from the corporate life. Of course, we can see like the overall setup wise, it is more of got to do with mental work when it comes to corporate, whereas it is more of physical work in the military. But are there any nuances that you want to share in terms of work life, in terms of professional work aspect of it?
Yeah, sure. So I think, when we talk about the differences in corporate as well as, the difference is because of the kind of work we do, kind of purpose the defense has and the kind of purpose the corporate has. So there is a difference. So when I talk about, like we just spoke about agile. So agile, we talk about no hierarchy, flat hierarchy. But in defense, we do have hierarchies, and that's the requirement, because in case there is a war and everyone, there is no leader, and you are not listening to the orders, you are not following the orders, then everybody, it's a teamwork. Then if there is no leader, then everybody will go in different directions. So it is very important in defense to have that kind of hierarchy. But again, the hierarchy is also, it is not the position leadership, which I said, it is people leadership. They inspire everyone to work. They never force anyone. Okay, so everybody is self-inspired, motivated. So this is the first thing I think which is different. Second thing is the selection procedure. I found that the procedure, if I tell you the process of selection of officers in Air Force or military, in army also, it is totally different. We undergo, there are many QR, like I said. First is that you need to have some QRs, your education, your age group, your eyes, your physical fitness. And after that, you can apply for it. Then you go for Air Force Combined Aptitude Test. And after clearing that, you go for SSB, Service Selection Board. Service Selection Board, again, is not 1-day program. It is a 5-day program. And it is very, very scientific and psychological based. So in case you fail the psychological exam on the day 1, then you are sent back. Then you can't fight for the next 4 days. So scientific, I think it is required, because flying officer or if I talk about army, lieutenant, he has to go and lead his team in the difficult, adverse weather condition, difficult terrain, and sometime under the observation of enemy. So it is very important to have those kind of, the OLQ, we call it, leadership officer like qualities. It is required to have. So that's why it is a scientific process of selection, I would say. The next thing which I have seen little different is the counseling part. It is mandatory in military to counsel the soldiers, the officers continuously, once in quarter. And it is not only done by the direct supervisor. In a month or quarter, the register, it goes to the officer IC. And then finally it goes to the commanding officer also. Questions which we ask, Naveen, are not only related to the professional one, but again, these are personal questions also. You know why? Because most of them are without the families there. The families, the children, they are in the different life cycle. So the children, they stay with mother and they other stations, maybe at some other city. So there we also check their engagement level. Is the engagement level? So we don't have to do it every year. We do it frequently. I mean, this is just a way to know whether this person, real-time information you get about the engagement level of the person. It's very important. Next is the well-being. It is only limited to the employee, that is the soldier or officer, but it is extended to the families also. To just give you an example, we have beautiful organization of women called AFWA, Air Wife Welfare Association. So they at the station level, then they are at the command level, then they are at the air headquarters level. So you can imagine, I mean, the kind of, bonding we have, the collaboration we have, and how we upskill these women. We help them upskilling by giving them some vocational free trainings. All these trainings are at the peanut of prices. Children, they also have a very good growth because there are summer camps, there are free, Casio classes just for 200, 500 rupees per month. I mean, just peanuts. So children, they learn, they become more confident. So this is one part which I miss, I think, because, our working hours are limited in corporate families, because it is not anybody's fault, because the working hour is from 9 o'clock till 6 o'clock. You don't have time. You go back and then again, sometime you open your laptop. So you're busy, but there the time, you won't believe. I used to be in office by 6:45 in the morning, and I was back by 3 o'clock. So this is one thing. Not the least, I would say the physical fitness. I mean, because you rightly said, it is all mental as well as, you have to be mentally very strong leader, but you have to be physically fit. You have physical, examination every year. You undergo medical tests. You have to have your weight under control. You need to be physically totally fit. So this is what I think are some of the differences between the culture of defense and corporate.
Wonderful. I think you have covered pretty much everything, and in fact it looks very exciting for me. Probably people should try getting into this defense and all to enjoy that life.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Of course it has a lot of rigorous selection process and all, but definitely people can enjoy the benefits of it, right? Yeah.
Yes, you become a very good human being. And I think the best part is, Naveen, you have a very work-life balance is also very good there, and it makes you a total good human being, I would say.
Great conversation, Dimple. Dimple, now flipping the question, what are the commonalities between defense and the corporate?
Okay. Yes. So the first, I think, common thing between both defense as well as corporate is both of them, they feel that human resource is the strongest pillar of them. I mean, they're the most competitive advantage. We talk about technology, everything, but still we both the worlds believe that human resource is the main resource. I'm not talking about HR department, I'm talking about each and every employee, each and every soldier counts, each and every officer counts. So this is the first thing which is common. When we talk about the structure also, so like in corporate, we have HR department and all. So there also we have IT department, HR department, we have a strong SCM, that is your supply chain management. We have operation department. So structure is somehow, same, I would say. And Air Force or defense, they are more self-sustaining kind of organization. And when I talk about third thing, which is training and development, which I like too much in corporate also, where you are continuously upgrading your employees, your leaders, your successors. Similarly, we have lot of training and development part in defense. So now we have lot of colleges, our own colleges, where we have cross service experience, where Army officers, Navy officers and Air Force officers also come. They do the training together. So that is one thing I like, that categorization. Professionally, you need to be always on your toes. So there is a professional category. You need to maintain that. So you will have exams. So you will have to learn, I think, every time. That is, I think, very, very important. And these are few of the similarities, I would say.
So, Dimple, in the introduction, I mentioned you have won several awards and accolades, and recently you have been honored on the Women's Day with this one of the 100 inspirational stories of women to inspire the next gen young leaders, right? By Global Women Inspiration Forum and all. So, what really motivates you, because I've not seen many people with so many awards and they still have that fire in the belly and keep moving and all, right? So, what exactly is your motivation?
So first of all, Naveen, award only is not my motivation. I always want to do my best. But I think award, you always like it. Somebody recognizing your work, it motivates you. Definitely. So I never used to apply for award. Now I am with WICI, Women Indian Chamber of Commerce, UPHR. And I'm doing a lot of work with them for women. The awareness session for the college students, and then mentoring, then leadership coaching for college girls. So there, I found that there were some, award categories which were given. I just applied, and I did a lot of hard work for that. You have to prepare the PPT, you have to send a lot of certificates to them. But I'm happy that they recognize my work. It really, it's a good thing to get these awards.
Wonderful. So, from your HR hat, right, what is something that you are observing in today's workforce, especially the millennials and the Gen Zs and the so-called centennials, right? What are some of the observations from the workforce? What should people do differently? Or maybe I'll try to summarize it in a different way. What should they start, stop, and continue doing for a long-term career? Because with this digital transformation picking up a lot of momentum, the gig workforce is going to come into picture, and probably we may not have this long-term employment, and also those are some of the talks that we are coming across and all, right? So keeping in view of these things, so what are some things which should continue, start and stop?
So first of all, they are very, very inspiring, I would say, the new generation. And I love their energy, the kind of knowledge they have, and they are continuously learning. And they are also unlearning. They have the ability to unlearn also, which is the best part. The unlearning is more important than the learning part, right? They are all agile, they are ambitious, and the expectation has also, had a shift. If you have noticed, now their expectation from HR or from the company is that HR should provide them a company which is winning in the market. And I feel that's a responsibility of HR, that my employees, they're doing so much, and it is my responsibility to give them a winning company. So what majorly they ask for is, I will summarize that into 3 C's. They are looking for more community kind of an attitude. They're looking for more collaboration, and they're looking for more of communication. And I really love this, the way they ask the questions. You have one info session and just see kind of questions all the employees they ask, not only in my company, but when I talk in my circles. So they are interested in everything. What we are doing, what are our strategies, how you are planning to go there, how we are planning to react to the market. So this is really good energy, and I think we should also have that reverse mentoring. We should also learn from them. I say always, they are striving for excellence, which is a great thing. They are looking for total mindfulness. Now the hybrid model they want. So I think these are the good points which they should continue. And what they should, just take care, I would say, is that everybody is looking for a shortcut, most of them. And they want to, become successful immediately. You have to remember that every tree has a life cycle. Put the seed in the soil, and then you need to water it. It will germinate, then the shoots will come, and then the plant would be there, then it will bear the fruits. So that process is there. I would only say that I want them to enjoy the journey, not just wait for the destination to come. And keep learning and, enjoy this, become more resilient. And the patience and empathetic learning is one thing which I think they can learn more. They are good at, but they can learn more. So I think these would be the few things as HR, what I feel. But I'm very happy that they have so much of passion to ask questions. Challenging the status quo. The time is changing and it is so interesting. So these would be my first few of, pointers which I would like to.
Wonderful, Dimple. So one thing that resonated with me is people are looking for those fancy titles and all, right? Everybody wants a leader or a manager kind of position. But what happens after you go there? Again, you're not satisfied. You want to scale up. But enjoy the journey.
Yes.
Enjoy the journey while you scale up the ladder. Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. So great conversation, and we have been talking very seriously about the HR domain and all. So let's look at other side of Dimple. I'll bring some personal element to this conversation. And are you ready for a quick rapid fire?
Yes.
So let me shoot the first bullet to a defense officer. Okay. So what is the secret about you that you didn't share with anyone so far?
Oh, no, Naveen, this is a wrong question. Because, my life is an open book. And I think everybody knows about me. Which I have changed recently is I myself is on self-discovery mode. Corona time, I just reflected back and I've started thinking what were my passions and dreams. So now I've started chasing them more passionately, I would say.
Wonderful. So energetic, Dimple. I'm really liking the conversation. Here comes the next one. If you were given a superpower to choose from, what would it be?
Superpower, I don't know. But if I am given a superpower, first of all, I would, eradicate this corona, because it kind of impact, the economic impact it has created. I mean, the biggest recession we are into after World War II. So I would like to eradicate this with the superpower, and I would like to create a world of equality, happiness, and where there is no stress. I mean, people are not running in the rat race, and every child is enjoying the childhood, and we are here to have this journey, and where I think that I can do with the superpower. I would like
amazing thoughts. So next one, given a chance to time travel, like would you go back in the past or cruise into the future?
No hurry into the future. I said that I enjoy my journey, and I'm a strong believer of presence. I love to be in the presence. I read a lot. Yes, if you give me a chance, if I have to go back, I would like to go back to my childhood and again play those games, which are not there for my children today. So Pithu, or you remember we used to have Kho-Kho, Kabaddi and Dodgeball, and I think Stapu. So again, go back, play those games, learn swimming. So the swimming I missed, and I think I would do that. And I think rest, I enjoy my present.
You're making me nostalgic as well, talking about that Kabaddi, Kho-Kho and all. All right, so what are 3 things that you cannot live without?
3 things I can't live without. Okay, I think I can't live without my strong ethics, my values, disciplined life, which I still have because of the kind of foundation Air Force has given me, and touchwood, I'm still serving the nation indirectly through my husband. He's a self-defense officer. I live without my family, my morning routine, and I think my passions to work. So continuously Saturday, Sunday also I keep myself engaged, and I do sessions for the awareness or something which I can, help or inspire the people. So I think these are my few things which I can't live without.
What is the strangest thing you have ever eaten?
Strangest thing? I think, I like food and I eat everything. I don't relish the seafood much. So I think, that, what do you call that? Sippies? There are... not crab. So there are 2 covers to it, and there is a small insect. Oh my God, that was horrible. While other people, they said it was a delicacy.
Quite interesting. Yeah. So last one for the rapid fire. Given a chance to live on a different planet, which one would you choose and why?
Different planet. No, I love my Earth. It is so green. It is, it has given me so much. I think my relations. It gives me energy. I don't want to go to any other planet. I'm happy here because, if you see, it is a perfect example of having everything. It has mountain, it has sea, it has, beautiful resources which it gives us. So I enjoy being on Earth and I want to continue to be on Earth.
Amazing thoughts.
You can send me, I'm happy. Just send me to Himalayas. I will just go meditate there and come back. But I would prefer to be on Earth only.
Superb, Dimple. So one last question for this overall conversation. What will be your one piece of advice to those aspiring to grow big in their career? Because you're a seasoned leader and you have seen the defense, and also I really want you to share some advice to our listeners so that they can benefit out of it.
Definitely. So Naveen, I think first I would say that everyone should dream big. It's very important that you should be inspired to dream big, set goals. And goals, the short-term goal, long-term goal, where you want to see yourself after 2 years, after 5 years. And there is one bridge between the present and the goal, which is called discipline. It is very important to have that kind of discipline. So this is the first thing which I want to tell you. Second thing which I can advise, what I have seen in my life, hard work never go wasted. So we have read and, these were the thought for the days. There is no substitute to hard work. But really, this is my mantra, life mantra, work hard. I will just tell everyone, keep learning, keep reinventing yourself, and it is very important for everyone to be ethical. So because you are just stepping into your careers, it is important to do the right thing from the beginning only. And if you are ethical, you build trust with people. You will be liked by everyone and you will have strong credibility. That is what is, just run behind your passion. Do not run behind the money, because if you are running behind the money will also move out from your pockets or somehow. But if you run behind your passion, money will come automatically to you. So you don't have to worry. And I think finally I would say that please take care of your health and believe and have full faith on the full mindfulness. what we talk about today. So I think these would be a few of my advices to the upcoming generation or the people who are just entering into the career.
Wonderful. So dream big and focus on your passion. Don't run behind the money. Yeah, these are excellent takeaways, at least from my side. I'm sure our audience are going to love each and every bit of this conversation. So Dimple, thank you so much for joining me today. And it was a great pleasure to host you and discuss about this wonderful topic, how military or defense life shapes professional careers. Thank you so much for your time.
No, my pleasure. And I'm so privileged and honored to be here today. Thank you so much, Naveen. And you are doing a great job. Your show is rocking. Continue. Please touch the sky with glory. Thank you.
Again. Thanks for the kind words. And because of support of leaders like you, we are able to move forward. And because we are getting energized and inspired by these conversations, and that is propelling us to do more.
No, thank you so much.
So thank you again. And folks, if you have liked this episode, please share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues for whom you care for. Because the Guiding Voice podcast series is a purely not-for-profit venture, and our team puts in a lot of effort to bring the best conversations to all our listeners. And our purpose is very clear. We want to provide curated guidance to all the professional students out there, be it from engineering, B schools, and all the IT employees and the entrepreneurs, so that all of you can make informed decisions based on the insights that are driven by the industry experts, coaches, leaders, or academicians across the globe. Because if you share this with your friends, it helps them also learn great insights from every episode. Or if you're listening to the Guiding Voice podcast on the Apple podcast, please do not forget to leave a review and a 5-star rating, because every rating will help us expand our reach and contribute to our mission to shape the careers and lives of millions of people across the globe. And if you are watching the episode on YouTube, please do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And last but not the least, I want to reiterate, please share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues. Thank you so much in advance. Alright, so it brings us to the trivia segment of today's episode. So folks, today's trivia is about Microsoft. Did you know that Microsoft had sued a high school boy? Yes, you heard it right. And do you know the reason? Let me tell you. That boy has launched a website with the domain name Microsoft, which is sounding phonetically similar to Microsoft. So Microsoft set up a legal defense against a high school student, Mike Rowe. His name is Mike Rowe, Mikerowe. So due to a phonetic resemblance of Microsoft with their brand name, Microsoft considered it to be a trademark infringement and sued that boy. Interesting, isn't it? Thank you for listening. There is more in store, folks. Stay tuned. Take care. Be safe. Until next time. Bye-bye. And I'm signing off for today.